I love it, and I'm actually curious to see where a lot of these teams are dropping. You know, the pro teams, they have their own spots, and the majority of players know where they're going. But a lot of these free agent teams that we have in here, you know, they might not have a drop spot called, and they might be contesting some people, as I see it's happening right now in Fragment. So expect some action to go down really, really soon in there. And I can't wait. But as you see on the map, Optic has their own spot. Nobody is challenging them. Furia has their own spot. Nobody is challenging them. And let me tell you something. That's probably the smartest thing they could possibly do.
Yeah, launch site's free as well. And you know what's interesting is the team that was going down over towards the southern side, they could have potentially landed on Duplex because 2 players from Optic landed on Big Mod and they left him by himself over towards Lava City. But that just goes to show you the respect that Optic gets. You know, if you're playing ranked, I would say 9 times out of 10 that person's getting solo dropped on. Aiden the Destroyer coming in onto Lou. This is where Sentinels has been landing ever since it was Sorting Factory, but now they're down a player.
It's going to be tough. Tough 2v3 here, but I think if anybody can do it, guess what? It's Sentinels. 3 of the greatest players we've ever seen play Apex right there on one squad. And not to mention Lou. I mean, this guy is absolutely phenomenal as a player. Unfortunately, goes down early. As we can see, purple armor, blue armor, and a white for VRA. So they're looking pretty good on the armors. You know, I'm not too sure about what Sentinels have, but they do have the gun skills. Sentinels might be thinking about just grabbing the tag, getting out of there, pulling the res, and getting a full 3-man roster back. And I see Crust is trying to move in, trying to see if he can maybe snag the tag. But it's going to be tough because they're all over that.
Yeah, they're so good at kind of disguising that they're not camping the banner. Like, yo, respect, we're not camping the banner. Just kidding. As soon as you go for it, everyone's going to pounce on you, and then your entire team's gone. But the problem right now is no one with major movement on the team. Or you can see Crust. It's another Aiden Destroyer flatline shot. And that's what they do. They mask and disguise it. Like, that banner looks so free, but next thing you know, everyone popped out from angles.
You know, I was kind of assuming we were going to get a little bit of early game aggression as some of the teams tested the waters here on this very first matchup, just to see if they could get some quick and early points on the board, and that's exactly what they do. Sentinels out very early, 3 points on the board for VRA, and now they kind of own this POI, so this is going to be something for Sentinels to consider moving forward.
Yeah, I will say this. Sentinels have been dropping here since the start of time for Apex, and I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're going to change their gameplay a little bit, realize that there's a squad challenging them, you know, 50-50 right off the rip, and they're going to bring it to them. But shout out Aiden the Destroyer, 3 kills on, you know, 3 of the best players in the world. Wow, what a name to make for yourself there.
Yeah, it was really solid from him, and there's such a, you know, big opportunity to do a handful of different things over at Lava Siphon. You don't even really have to take that 50-50 if you don't want to. And I think that's the beauty of it is, you know, the landing spot can be shared, but you can also duke it out and avoid that third party if you take that fight fast. And I think that's what Sentinels was thinking is like, hey, you know what, let's go and try to get this banner. Let's get this thing over with and see what this team's made of. They found out what they're made of. Aiden's definitely no joke. ESA is going to go pop a little EMP over towards the side. Clayton's trying to get that white armor up. And he did some decent damage with that one. I think he caught 2 players with that, maybe 3. So he's going to be able to be 57 away from getting on over towards blue. Now, not sure exactly where this zone's going to pull, but when you see people posturing over towards that lava siphon or lava area and taking place over there, you think that's where the zone is going to go, especially if you're playing a Watson setup. Now, you room with this guy, with Vayne. What is their play style going to be? Because Tech usually likes to play inside of the zone, but right now they have a comp that's saying tons of aggression.
Yeah, I think, so Vayne, one of the best people I've ever met in my life, and one of the dirtiest, most disgusting Apex players I've ever had a chance of playing with. So I think they're trying to make a name for themselves. You know, they got a new roster here with Lux. Lux is a phenomenal player, as you can see with these G7 shots, just putting them down. They have tremendous armor, and the comp is definitely a fighting comp, especially with Fuse. And I think right now, you know, they're trying to work on their team fighting and making sure that they're ready for you know, tournaments coming up. I'm excited to see them play. I'm excited to see what they will do. And I mean, Tech's got a fully kitted flatline right now, purple armor. So I think the best thing for these guys to do is just bring it to them, maybe queue up on that building and fight right away. Now we got Furia here moving in, and you know, the famous comp that they've been playing with, Seer, Horizon, and Valk, and I mean, they're phenomenal. What do you guys think about this comp?
The aggression. I want more aggression. Okay, Optic though, finding themselves in a little bit of a tough spot right now. Skittlecakes the only one alive, trying to heal up behind some of these shields and see if they can maybe save the fight here. But this is going to be rough. You know, as I was talking about aggression coming out of Furia, I think everyone's ready to bring it. While you guys were chatting earlier, I believe we also lost E8 down to 18 squads now.
Wow.
So, I mean, things are kicking off quick, and there's no safe place for Skittlecakes right now. He's getting tagged from every single angle, and that is it for Optic. The next squad down, already down to 17. This is, I actually kind of like this type of gameplay, Tom. I'm here for this all day.
You know, Optic, I'm not going to really ever question what they're doing, but it makes me wonder how fast they're going to adapt and change to the meta, because it's absolutely wild, Lauren, how quickly things change when a new update comes out. And Gibby's just not that popular right now. Newcastle seems to be the wave. They've been so successful with this composition. I get why they're running it, but there's a reason why people have kind of switched over to the style that Fury is playing. Because if you turtle for a second, you know, you can get scanned consistently by Seer. Damage comes in. You don't even have to shoot your gun if you're Horizon. You just toss the ultimate, chuck a couple of grenades, and you're going to be A-okay. I worry, you know, watching Optic play this style right now. I'm not saying that just because of them getting eliminated early on, maybe I am, but they have to consider playing a more aggressive comp. They're so darn good at fighting. I would love to see them play something very similar to what Fury is doing.
I agree. I think that's a really strong point. They've got a little bit of time to make those adjustments as far as the full season goes, but right now in this event, what we're seeing is the overall aggression being favored. And I think that when you combine that with all of the ring changes that you were also talking about before, TJ, there's just not a whole lot of wiggle room.
Let's go this way.
No, there's not. And, you know, it's tough. I think you have to sort of find a balance of what works for your team and what is the comp. I know Optic is, you know, arguably one of the most disgusting teams, maybe the most disgusting team to play in a tournament. And I will say, so Gibby did get a slight nerf coming up with two major things. So the bubble goes down 2 seconds sooner. All right, so it went from 12 seconds to 10 seconds. And not only that, you also have the Maggie Ball to destroy the bubble. But now we got a huge fight here. Furia is bringing it to... I'm not too sure who's inside that house, but it's Horizon on Horizon action right now. And that is white armor with Murdog, Flux, and Kosi. And they're holding out deep with the Newcastle, as you were saying, Tom, about the Newcastle, and here it is.
Yeah, and all right, so I'm great that you brought up all those points because they go perfectly with one another. While you have a team that can set up, just look at what Fury is trying to do. Even if you have a defensive composition, they're still sending it towards you. And if you don't have a scan legend, what they're looking for here is one of two things. One, what kind of armor do you have? Two, are you all grouped up? And if you are grouped up, that's going to be perfect for Horizontal. But if you are separated, they're going to find out which player is separated and immediately going to send on that. And that's why you're seeing such discipline from Murdog and his squad inside here. But this Dorito building loves to get third-partied. Fury is going to have to take this fight fast.
Totally agree, and if this doesn't finish fast, as we can see, shots coming out already, and I'm pretty sure that team on that big rock is thinking about coming over, saying hello, and maybe putting a couple, you know, kill points on the board.
Realistically, they're just waiting for knocks. That's the number one thing, is that's if one person gets knocked, everyone's going to collapse on this.
And that Dorito building is probably one of the worst buildings to hold. Not only that one in specific, that, you know, it's just such a tough hold. And Watson hitting some bow shots here. Absolutely won on that kid.
Oh my god.
Goodness.
And that is the exact reason why we love the bow being in pack. All right. And I know Reptar was really, really sad when he heard the bow was in the pack because arguably him and Enoch might be the two greatest bow players I've ever seen in my life. And they actually started running Loba. That way they can get a lot more arrows and collect their arrows back after they shot them just by throwing down a Loba ult and collecting them off her special.
Lauren loves Loba. Lauren, what's your favorite legend to play right now after the new update? Still Loba?
To be fair, I do love Loba, but I like that there's options. I mean, the fact that I am a big fan of Seer. I am a big fan of Loba just because she's got great utility, but I like that we've gotten to a point in the meta where you can play a huge variety. We're not stuck in 3, even 5. Like, there are choices for people, and it's changed up the entire comp side of Apex Legends so much that I find it hard to choose. I said we might see a little bit of advantage. We saw advantage there for a hot second as well. A couple teams sneaking Vantage in. Seeing how that goes for them. I mean, I love it.
I do agree with you. I think it makes Apex a hell of a lot more fun when instead of just seeing, Gibby, Caustic, Valk, we're seeing all these different metas and different play styles. And I think another thing that EA and Respawn, did an amazing job with this season is there's no hard meta on weapons anymore as well. You could run the flatline, you can run the 301, you can run the Volt, the car as a secondary, and PKs and shotguns are still really, really good. The Eva is arguably even better than the PK right now, which is scary. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, look at the amount of attachments you can carry on that thing. 4 different attachments. That's absolutely wild. When previously, I think you had 3. You got the stock being added in there, which helps for a lot of different things. In terms of what Fury is doing strategy-wise, they're still waiting for these teams next to them. They still want to brawl. They're in towards over this next zone, and it makes you wonder if this zone's going to be kind of that bridge ending, maybe like in between where they're at and landslide could be a good spot over towards that high ground. Those are really popular endings. Rack attacks inside. This is where, with zone 3 and 4 closing, 17 squads, we're going to lose out on a couple of them.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the zone doing so much more damage than it used to. You got to get those kills, you got to loot up, and you got to get out of there. But Rack Attack getting 2 kills on Cody and Zednam, 2 of the greatest players in Apex here. Stunny trying to rat, maybe get banners, pull them right there, and, maybe get them back in the fight here.
I know that you were just talking about Fury, Tom, but watching the way they played that entire engagement from the time we jumped on board with them when they were pushing inside the building, they made so many smart timing decisions. They backed off at the right time when they knew they were getting pushed in, and then they were able to hold them off with those nasty the bow shots coming out of his Watson. I mean, they have still held that position. They know where everyone is around them. They've now got the zone at their back, and they're sitting in a really solid spot moving forward. Now we get to see what Team Liquid has in store. Haven't gotten a chance to check in with them yet. And you did call it out. This is where a lot of that aggression is going to start to kick in because everyone has to squish into such a small amount of safe real estate. Not getting knocked there. And we'll have to see what happens to them as Fury finally makes that push that you were talking about, Tom. They are looking to get aggressive.
The big thing is not to take any flesh damage, and Zeratricky's already done that. His Watson's done that, which puts you in this predicament of, do you pop the med kit? Because it takes 7 seconds to pop that one. It looks like because the area is safe, they're going to be able to do so. Meanwhile, in the kill feed, turns from Nerf, the Rack Attack picking up some. Bowser now, the kill leader too. Bowser always been one of our strongest slayers that we have in the ALGS, coming up and showing up here in the Intel Creator Tournament. But it looks like he's the only one alive now for Rack Attack, and I don't think he's going to be left for long in this World's Edge, and he gets dropped in 12th place. So going to find a new kill leader here eventually.
Yeah, it's a tough predicament where they found themselves, surrounded by, I think, 3 teams. I think there might be a team in the house, and there is. So you have Atlanta Premier on the outside, just poking shots. Wingman's 30-30s. You also have another team that just got out of countdown there, so they're looking straight ahead at them. And it was, I believe it might still be Team Liquid that's inside the house, so they're nice and turtled up. They have a safe spot, but guess what? They're going to have to rotate in a little bit, and you have Atlanta Premier holding them out with a lot of, you know, guns that are able to do damage at long range. Now you see Oxygen here. A lot of good friends of mine here. They might be picking a fight with Furia. And that's a scary fight to take, but they're feeling confident. They're feeling good. They actually got the knock on 2 of them, full kill 2 of them, and his Watson is left to Rat maybe get a couple placement points here.
Up the Rat.
That was unlucky.
That was a really nice job from Oxygen. I mean, now you're starting to see, though, what the play styles for certain teams are. Like Torrent, they've set up underneath the bridge. They're rocking Crypto. And I think, you know, the value of the Crypto and Watson combo that we're seeing is phenomenal, especially when you combine that with Keon on Valkyrie. They do lose that on him right there, but this is a very tough composition to run, and that's why you don't see a lot of teams elect for it, especially because it's kind of boring to play in ranked. You have to master it in these like scrim tournament type scenarios. E8 is just going to full send, and holy Presley impressing with the shots. Great tracking.
E8, and I was actually playing with Presley last night, and I mean, the level of skill that he has gone from has been a tremendous increase. I know him and his teammates at E8. They're hungry. They want to prove something. So they're looking to take this. And I talked to him last night. He's super excited to be playing in this. And I know that everyone is as well. And it's a fight. You know, you have a $20,000 PC on the line. You have $13,000 cash, plus an extra $4,000 at the actual PC build event. A lot of money on the line, a lot of pride and glory, and you know we'll see who comes out on top.
And the experience of going to a PC build event is just so exciting. Getting to learn more about how, you know, computers are put together. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the chat maybe that do know, and there's some that are wondering like, hey, you know, how do I build my own computer? Surprisingly, it's not as hard as people think. To build one of these masterful ones, 1000%. But you know, starting with an Intel processor, kind of going from there, that's kind of the 2 things that you look for when you're building a PC. Is you start with that processor, you find the right graphics card and motherboard, and then you just go from there.
Yeah, Tom, so you say it's not too hard. Well, I'll tell you this. I could barely even set up my own PC, so I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. But
you could barely set up the audio for casting today.
I did have a tough time with that as well, but we won't mention that, Tom. We will not mention that.
It's out there already.
No.
Did you dirty?
No, we don't know. We don't know. And as we see Team Nerf here, they recently picked up Force. I actually got dropped for Force, believe it or not, which is an amazing business decision on their behalf. As you guys can clearly see him.
We won't talk about that.
No, we won't talk about that either. I'm actually just ruining my own name right now. But, wow. ESA did pick up a Rampage. That's another one of the changes from Season 14. Rampage has actually gone into the package. Comes down with the Thermite. It's not the greatest gun, but it could definitely put some, you know, damage down the range, especially if you're low on ammo. Picking that up could be absolutely so clutch for you.
Yeah, if you get that thing charged up, it's hopping around more than glitter when you take some pre-workout, honestly. So, I think it's still really strong. There's a reason why people were screaming for that thing to get in the package to begin with. But you can see what E8's doing right now. After you confidently push on a team like Torrent like that, you're going to be feeling great. Oxygen gets dropped, and now we have a full-on 3-on-3 ESA versus E8 to take game number 1.
This is going to be a great way to close this out. I mean, lots of these teams are fighting for the positioning here. We saw Liquid going down very recently there in that kill feed. E8 now trying to spread out, get some angles, and it's not necessarily working out in their favor. They're trading knocks here. ESA and E8 battling out final moments. Are they going to be able to close out these PK shots? Wow. The shields are getting in the way, TJ.
That is insane. And ESA comes as the winners of game number 1. Hard-fought battle. And you love to see it. I mean, these guys are hungry. They have something to prove, and they're sure doing it right now. Edge, I think, you know, the difference maker for a lot of these teams in the tournament will be how they play on Stormpoint. I know Furia is one of the top teams on Stormpoint, so we'll have to see. And I think they are challenging again, a hard 50-50 at Lava Siphon for Sentinels and VRA. So I'm excited to see what happens there. I'm not sure if there's any other 50-50s anywhere around. Lou going down once again, unfortunately. Mozam for Senox. Does have a flatline, though.
Wow.
Wow, there you go. Mozam kind of hitting, and what did I say? Don't expect...
The gondola grief.
He's game-footed.
You know what's interesting is they actually picked up purple armor on the VRA side, and you would think, all right, well, I have a Mozambique. What am I going to be able to do? Crust just slaps them. And one of the things that I was looking at was CLG was kind of flirting in the area. They were taking some of that loot, keeping eyes on the fight. It was Mamba, you see, getting back on over towards the Harvester side. You also had Madness, the IGL for Renegades, kind of peeking out over towards that side too, because they were interested in taking that. But some minor adjustments in terms of, hey, let's all land in the middle. If you ever are new to landing in Lava Siphon, if you get 50-50'd, that is that spot that you want to contest for, getting on over towards the middle and controlling the command center where Crust is, are the two power positions in terms of that POI. But taking a look at where the map's going to go, it's going to be Southern. Teams like Renegades, Sentinels start a fight. Murdog's team over towards the dome area, and then Optic, this is perfect for their composition. They could just hit a Valkyrie rotate and set up with Caustic.
Absolutely, and I will say this, very tough zone to break into if you don't rotate early, all right? Not too much cover around there. If you hang out by the train carts on the railroad up there, right in the middle of the map, really good spot to have. Also, that one big room south of Harvester and that snake. Those are probably the three best spots. You could also play fence line, which is really, really good. And if you don't have one of those spots, you're literally inside an RV, or you're using a couple rocks as cover. And I know there's a couple fuses on the map, and they will make them pay.
Right now, though, after that initial fight that we saw out of Sentinels, it seems that things have calmed down just a little bit. People not as willing to go for those 50-50s or go out that early on after kind of getting a feel for the lobby here. White armor, checking in with them as they hopefully get off of their white armor here in just a second.
Unfortunately, they found another blue armor, so they're all blued armored up. And they also do have a crafter, G7 on Flux on a Newcastle, which is a really, really good weapon to have. Not only can you farm armors, but you can put damage down absolutely really quick. From range as well, which is great. And I see Nano with CLG here playing the train tracks that I was talking about. And this is one of the better spots to hold, especially with Watson here. Really good because you're able to have height on the enemies, and not only that, it's really tough for people to push you. They got to come from one way or another, and unless somebody has a horizon, it's like the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae. I hope we got some history buffs here.
I thought that was a movie, dude. That was a real thing?
That was a real thing.
Wait, Tom, stop it!
So that's the best thing about my trolls. You don't know if I'm serious or not.
No, I was 99% certain you were not serious.
I was pretty serious.
You live and learn, Tom. Live and learn.
Exposed.
Yeah, and I will say this. I see a lot of crypto teams here, and CLG is trying to take it to the team in the RV. Like I said, if you're not playing the train tracks, fences, or a house, you're going to get bullied here. Unfortunately, all white armors except for one blue on Torrent. Not the greatest spot as well. They do have the crypto to be able to farm a little bit, plus a Watson for the gen and be able to regen the shields, which is massive. But that's a tough spot for Torrent there, we'll say.
Yeah, it's fortunate that they have, the Watson to lock things down, but the ideal situation would be more of like the CLG vibe, right? Getting up on top of the train tracks, etc., etc. But why is Watson becoming more popular than, say, like Caustic, for example? It's because this legend right here just tossing things towards you. Next thing you know, you're just grenaded to absolute death. as Zendim's trying to stay alive around the corner. CSX coming around, picking up some kills. The Volt has been putting in some serious work. That's Rack Attack now, and Rakanishu doesn't look like he's going to be lasting very much longer as a potential res right there onto Cody. I love that play, getting the early res instead of worrying about tracking that last player down. At a certain time, you just have to trust the ones over towards the side and reset just in case the third party comes.
Absolutely. Third party, and not only that, we talked about the Storm doing a lot of damage. So you leave your teammate down for, a few seconds, they're going to be finished, and now you're going to have to res him. He's going to have to reloot, and that's a lot of time that you're spending just getting back into the fight. But like you said, Volt, a controller favorite, as we have a double controller team, I believe, here with Stunny. And Sentinels having another fight here at Lava Siphon, and these guys know what to do. And I will say this, they do have a fuse, and the team up in that little platform is going to have a tough time.
Optics looking to third party this over towards the side, though, off of the rotation from Lava City and Big Mod. Now, this is a decent spot to go and hold, and this is where you're going to start seeing a little bit more of that value of Caustic. But Sentinels, this is kind of their specialty, and they've been doing this for a long time. If there ever is a time where the zone pulls past them, they literally just take the high ground, and they did this back when it was Sorting Factory. They said, come on, anybody that wants, any takers, you guys want to try to rotate through us, you're going to end up taking a fight that you don't necessarily want to. And that's why you got to respect the way that Sentinels plays. Not a lot of teams even are close to that type of confidence.
No, and I think one of the best things about the Sentinels team as well is how much fun they have. Like if you ever tune into their comms, they're always laughing. And, unless they're dead, then it's a little rough. But the majority of the time, they're having fun. They're playing their game. I will say one thing: I'm not a huge fan of Maggie in comp. Right? I feel like there's so many more legends that could offer so much more. So I'm surprised I'm still seeing Maggie getting played. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I feel like Maggie's like the type of person, is like, yeah, go and hate on me some more, people. Like, you drinking the haterade, and that's what makes Maggie special, all right? I think, one of the things is I wish her wrecking ball, when it stuns you, I even saw you do this in your stream. You got hit with a wrecking ball, and you still, like, one-clipped somebody. And it's like, yeah, you're stunned, but you're not completely stunned. I feel like, Valkyrie Missile Swarm previously, which was just a Q cooldown, isn't as strong as how the stun for the Maggie ball necessarily should be. Like, I feel like if you get hit by that thing, your PC should shut off.
It actually,
I would cry.
It ends up in your room IRL, running your PC.
Yeah, I would probably cry. It's annoying enough getting Maggie queued, like you're in a tough little spot or you're behind cover, maybe in a Gibby bubble, and all of a sudden a Maggie queue comes and you're just getting thermite through cover. So it's a little tough. I'm glad Respawn is not listening to you, Tom, and making that Maggie ball absolutely invincible, but you never know.
I think she's strong enough to be picked in comp. Could be other legends, 1000%. Also, the fact that once that wrecking ball goes down, even enemy players could go and use the speed boost. Say that you end up getting taken down, etc. You're able to continue and move freely with that. So there's a couple minor things that turn me off towards picking her. Personally, but I'm also a one trick, so I can only play one or two different legends.
And who's your favorite legend, Tom?
Right now, I'm going with the scan crutch meta. All right, I'm going Seer or Bloodhound. But I'm also a big fan of Valkyrie. I think that movement's always been really key for me. Always been a Pathfinder main. So I've shared the same kind of legend pool as you do with Bloodhound and with Gibby. But I've also, kind of picked up Seer, and I really enjoy playing Valkyrie when my team needs it, just because I feel like even with the minor nerfs, the rotations are still very important.
Ooh.
I like it a lot, and I think it is absolutely gigabrain of how well Furia uses Fuse. All right, so as you could see, you saw the Thermites the Arc Stars, and a whole lot of, fuse Qs. That way they could cut off the rotation of the enemy team from backing up. They use the fuse ult.
Oh!
Wow. Wow. Major shots from the G7 from Zero Tricky here. One of the best players in the world, and I don't think they're going to be able to pick back up loot from the ground.
The gatekeeping.
Oh, that was... Wow, yeah, that was
Xenox
actually
and
Xenox.
Yeah, the gatekeeping that's been happening out of Furia this entire time to just ruin Sentinels' rotation there was kind of gross.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, Sentinels was the team that was going for the gatekeeping, and then all of a sudden, they just get turned on your head because you need to rotate a little bit sooner. And then Furia's like, you know what, we're going to sit here and just demolish your hopes and dreams. As we have an interesting comp coming out. I don't think we've talked about Origami Sweats that much. Double big boys coming out. Instead of playing Gibby, gonna rock that Newcastle.
Yeah, and I think Newcastle is tremendously good. If you know somebody who can play Newcastle tremendously well, I think he's one of the best legends in the game. But this is my point sort of to Maggie. Let's say they had a Valk. They could have got out of there. You can't really do much with that Maggie ball there.
I just don't picture Sentinels as a get out of jail free card. They're like trying to put you in behind the bars, right? They're like, you know what? Death sentence to everybody that comes in our way. As CSX taking over towards the high ground, you can see the black hole is going to go down. This is going to be Team Liquid on the opposite side. Multiple knocks. They are going to be donezo. Nasty, nasty plays. But this is, again, one of those popular third-party areas you can see. Vayne taking the high ground over here. They're going to full send on this.
Oh, yeah. They have Vayne's team, but they also have Furia just lurking in the background, waiting. Mouth-watering, waiting for a third party here. And I don't think they're going to get it, because the original team with Zednum sort of realized that, backed up, which I believe is the smartest thing they could have done there.
Just watching Apex makes you want to play Apex so badly. Like, these players are so darn good. You just want to start up. Next thing you know, you're getting third party in your ranked games. You're like, dang, I'm just not as good as these guys. But the amount of skill they are bringing to the table is absolutely insane. Lauren, you talked about this before. Their internal clock on when to take fights and when not to take fights is just absolutely ridiculous.
And specifically, like, we get to keep checking in with Furia. I feel like they have refined it in the small amount of time, even when we watched them in champs. Like, they look even cleaner and more decisive, and it feels really, really good to know that this is just the continual progression, the improvement in the comp scene overall for Apex. See some nice shots coming out of Origami Sweats. They're Liquid in a little bit of a tough spot as they are the next squad to go down, and we see the kill feed is being lit up right now as teams continue to get knocked to go out. We're down to 14 squads in Origami Sweats, but Jay still landing some of these 301 shots, just being a real nuisance over here behind this vehicle.
Also,
and I think it's...
Sorry, Pete,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, Kodagami absolutely putting it down with that G7. Almost got ratted on from behind. And Furia actually saved their lives. So that was... Well, actually, was not Furia. Let me correct myself. It was Zednum's team that saved Kodagami. And if they did let, Sykes from Team Liquid actually pull up and get that one kill, they could have collected their other kill as well, plus a couple extra placement points and the kill on Sykes.
The hell?
Wow.
Tech with just a sliver, literally 1 HP, and then also showing his Watson who's boss around World's Edge. Little extra, ammo conservative, you conserve your ammo, Tech. You don't really have that much ammo, let's be honest, and you're not rocking Loba. But, one of the things, Peeps, before I rudely interrupted you that I wanted to ask you, actually, was Scout versus 30-30. There's been a lot of conversations about which one is better as you see the fight taking place between Renegades and Oxygen. It's a tough call, but right now it looks like Scout is prevailing a little bit.
Yeah, when I did see the patch notes, I totally thought the 30-30 was going to put the Scout in the ground. After trying both of them out, number one, Scout is so much easier to use, right? you're able to lay down so many more shots in the same amount of time as somebody is getting, you know, maybe 1 or 2 shots out. But massive fight here on the train tracks. Does have one on the ground here. Senpai, oh, he has 2 on the ground with the crack. Got the banner. So whoever wins this, guess what? They're getting the reses up, getting their team back in there. In a hut.
Wow. Armor swap. Really smart armor swap there from Dimmy. And that is not easy to do. I mean, you were wondering if he's still getting armor from the Watson gen or not, or if he actually did armor swap. And that's what makes Watson still really viable, especially in these really tight-knit corners right there. And sometimes your tracking will just automatically go towards the interception pylon, for example. Oh my, speaking of tracking,
wow.
R301 with the 3X coming in for Luxford. And you were talking about someone making a name for themselves. Luxford's been one of those names that's been rising.
Absolutely. I think he's hungry. I think he, you know, wants to prove himself as a player. And I think, you know, honestly, he's slept on. I don't think a lot of new up-and-coming players really get a chance, you know, with the big names until they actually make a name for themselves. And then the bigger names in the community, you know, the ranked grinders, the top preds, they're like, hey, this guy is nasty. Let's play some games with him.
Optic seeing a lot more success this time around, having made their move over to Harvester, holding down the roof here with all of these caustic barrels. Saw their names popping up a few times in that kill feed as well. They look a lot more comfortable now, and this is a zone that could really actually play into their favor here.
1000%. Caustic will really thrive in Harvester situations because of all of the close quarter combat, but when you think about areas to, you know, lock down, you get 6 of these caustic barrels, and that's kind of the exact amount of angles that people could come up on top of this roof over here. And having the high ground, especially with weapons like that, you're gonna be able to pepper, get those Evo shields charged up, and have a huge presence. So this is great for Optic Gaming, especially since they got eliminated in 18th place in game number 1.
Big game, and they need it. I think they also have the best spot in the zone right now. A lot of potential for KP, and not only that, they have the ultimate height here, which, you know, at the end of the day, it does a lot for you when, you know, you can just see your enemies right in front of you, and it's hard for them to push you. So it's a good spot. And Duplex getting a drop on Rolders as Storm is moving in. Rolders is absolutely done. There is no chance he's coming back from that. Albralele, Reptar, and Slurp in also a tough spot. They better hope that Optic does not look at them. Great rotation from Vantage and the Loba.
They're getting Caustic on.
Oh, yeah.
I was worried about the amount of shots that Noct had in his Bolt, but apparently he isn't there, y'all, because he just completely one-clipped the player down below him, and these are not easy kills. They are making that look extremely easy. That is Albrelli going down, one of our strongest teams in the lobby, with a very tough rotation there, and that's going to be all she wrote for Reptar as well. That high ground, peeps, he talked about it, man. It proved really useful for Optic.
Yeah, not only that, guess what? They're going to get all that loot, get right back up on there, and just rain heck down on all these other players. It's going to be a really tough rotation for Vane's team here, because they're going to have to jump out of that cut. Not a lot of cover to play right after, but Golden coming through with DG7 shots here. But I think who has the worst spot in the ring right now is definitely that team underneath the ramp. I'm not exactly sure who it is. A couple nades and they are done, and that is Atlanta Premier. Unfortunately, that might be all she wrote for these guys in a couple seconds. Vane and Los Demonios actually making the most of what they got from this spot, getting a couple KP here. They actually have a lot of kills on the board, which is awesome for them, and they're gonna get one more right after that.
They've gotten really solid situations going in their favor based off of the timing of their rotations, able to clean up pretty much the remaining people on their side of the zone that were outside of Harvester. E8 has been holding down the inside of this building for quite some time. And talk about consistency. E8 finding themselves in a top 6 position yet again, 2 games in a row, and looking very comfortable in this process, pushing up, throwing down some of those thermites. Massive damage coming out. This is going to be a fantastic opportunity for them to get some more KP on the board.
Yeah, Mercy's taking a lot of damage, but the placement of the wall is pretty strong right now. If you run into that, you're going to get a little bit stunned. Golden with a phenomenal black hole, and that is all she wrote for Team Nerf. Now, they have the God spot. You could say the high ground's really great for Optic Gaming, but you know, in a situation where you have to push off of that high ground, you're going to get a little bit of a gun punch in that situation. And Los Minos realizes that they tried a third party over towards where E8 is, and they get punished severely. And then the fourth party comes in, and that's Optic Gaming capitalizing on the small mistake that the Demons made, and they may end up walking away with this one. I mean, you have multiple people knocked and weak inside. Optic Gaming in a perfect position now.
Wow. I think one of the major reasons why height is so good as well is because all the teams down below, they're going to fight. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the game, Optic was not staying at the bottom of that list. Here to prove, you know, once again, they are one of the best teams.
It's 900 different possible combinations that you could make.
Did you just do that math?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head here.
Because I would be so proud if that was accurate.
Listen, I thought 300 was only a movie. You think I just did that math?
Yeah, live and learn, Tom. Live and learn. Was that accurate, though? The 900 was accurate?
No, there's no way. There's no way.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate, yeah.
Wow. Wow. I will say this, very surprised by the Vantage, Loba, and Newcastle comp here. Didn't expect that. I see Sentinels dropping once again to their homes. I don't think VSA...
Oh, they're there.
Actually, there they are.
Well, they want it.
Yeah, triple whites for VSA, though. Tough, you know, it's going to be a tough fight. But Senox with the wingman shots here. And Lou with the wingman as well. I mean, one of the best weapons you could get off drop. Absolutely disgusting. And they're hungry, you know. They want to make this their home, and they want to get them out of here. We do have a trade now. Reed's knocking down on Crust. And it's anybody's fight here.
Yeah, it's going to be a straight up 2v2. Wow. And that's just explosive damage coming out. And like you said, wingman, really great. But you combine that with the car. This is some, you know, the armor situation, not great for Sentinels, but in terms of the weapon combo that you're looking for, this is great. And I love the res right there. A couple reasons why you stick that res is, one, get your teammate up as soon as possible. 2, it baits down the other player. And 3, you can stop the res and go for the 2v1 if you really can't finish off the 1v1 yourself. So really smart play, technical play coming out from Sentinels. How fast can they recover, though? Because that 50-50 lasted longer than the previous 2, and teams already rotating in. Optic Gaming, Renegades over from the tree side. Definitely have to be aware of that. And when you look at how much loot these guys have, they're already with their end game, you know, setup, and Sentinels is still picking up the pieces from the fight they just had.
Yeah, I think one thing that Optic does so well is they've literally fought so hard for Lava City and Big Mod that they have 2 POIs, right? Not only do they have 2 POIs, they have the power weapons from Mod themselves, which do have quicker reloading, right? So that 1 extra second could mean the difference between whether you're going to win that fight or you're losing that fight.
And something that we didn't touch base on yet is the crafting changes, how when you pick up materials, it goes to all of your teammates. And that helps with Big Mod as well, and making sure that you can get that gun even faster, which saves you even more time. So, you know, going back to Seconds is the reason that Optic even got 18th place in game number 1. Great wingman shots from Zeratricky. 1 to 2 scope on the wingman. People don't use that, do they?
I think, you know, once beggars can't be choosers, right, Tom? So if that's what you got, that's what you got. You want to make sure you have a little bit of range if you're holding the height here. This is one of those good old thermal zones that we see pro players complaining that we get too many of. And great G7 shots from his Watson. plus the cancel. Kind of missed it, but that's all right. And they want this fight. They're taking it to them. Couple KP on the board. They do still have a really strong spot in zone. And let's see if his Watson could clean this up and get right back to zone.
Yeah.
It's his Watson. I think he's got this one. Great use of the ultimate right there. Once they have you on the ropes, you are done for. CLG feeling the wrath. Pander's looking to hit the battery around the corner, but look at the tracking from his Watson. Are you kidding me? This guy does not miss. Absolutely ridiculous in the way that he's able to just dominate these fights. And now they got 3 batteries. Will they take backup height? That is an opportunity for another team to kind of slither on over there. They're going to need Zeratricky and his grab lift, so it's going to be a little bit longer, 5 more seconds before they get on up there, and expect other teams to be rotating through. You can see some Valkyrie Skyward dives going on over towards the side. Atlanta Premier is going to take on over towards the backhand side, but it's always interesting to see kind of where everyone decides that they want to pick. The backhand side is typically the safest because this is the hardest area to actually get to, and if you're not back here, you're most likely playing outside of the top 5. So Atlanta Premier and the rest of these teams really hoping that the zone continues to pull towards the back of Thermal.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most impressive things about his Watson, you know, other than his aim, is the fact that this guy has very minimal comp experience. You know, the guy was a ranked grinder. Furia, you know, reached out to him and said, hey, BRIGL. And his Watson came in there, said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to play. And let's turn it up. And, I mean, they sure have. It's been so impressive seeing these guys play. And they play like a ranked game, you know, and yet they are farming the best of the best in the world and making a name for themselves while they do it.
Atlanta Premier here. Going back and forth with Origami Sweats a little bit, just trying to keep each other at bay, but also not expend too many of their resources, because there's going to be so many more fights in store as they take a look towards that central area, the rotunda portion of Thermal, and see if they can deal any poke in that direction. I do like Furia's decision earlier, though, to hop down super early and get some KP on the board, because they did it early enough and quickly enough that they couldn't really get punished by a third party for it and still maintain their position where they wanted to inside Thermal. And that is going to benefit them even just when it comes to those leaderboards. Now seeing where OXG is making their rotation right towards tree on the outside of that next zone. Everyone is going to be battling it out for some real estate, though, because this is going to shrink down very quickly, and people are going to be forced into aggressive situations they might not have initially chosen. So if they can make those choices for themselves before that happens, Tom, they'll be in a much safer spot.
No doubt about it, but also a great point going back to how Furia is playing, and that is a testament to the timing that you talked about in game number 1 and 2, how they just have a feel for, okay, is this too dangerous to take, or is it worth going and getting those points, not only getting the points, but eliminating a potential threat on the map for when they're trying to rotate, etc. So a really heads-up play from Furia, and the execution has to be on point, and, you know, they practice that in ranked like you're talking about, peeps. This is what their specialty is. They love to fight. They love to reset. We've all played ranked. A majority of us have played ranked, I'm sure. Resetting is the key. Resetting as fast as possible in terms of getting your teammates up and also your mental.
Tom, you've never lost a ranked game. What do you mean?
We've never lost. That's true. Glitter and I are undefeated, peeps. You should play with us.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah, I actually heard you're going to be the new IGL for Optic, maybe?
Possibly.
You know?
No, I was actually going for his Watson spot on Furia.
Yeah, well, you know, I've seen you play ranked games, man. I could. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You know, maybe we'll be casting you in the next ALGS here.
No, my team name would be No Armor, because I'm I'm basically watching from the death screen. Yeah.
But you'd love to see
Optic.
it. Yeah, here they are again, and you know, they have the caustic barrels. Nobody wants to mess with them, and I can promise you this: they're going to be messing with that team outside. They're in a very, very tough spot. I guarantee you, if they get a couple nades on them, they're going to clean this up very, very quickly. And it's a really tough spot, and there's really not much that they can do other than sort of block that door. But that's It's not going to hold out for too much longer.
A door on top of a door, on top of a fence, on top of 3 barrels. I don't know if I'm trying to push through there.
It's a scary place to be, Tom. Scary place to be.
Boy, armor gets taken down. This is going to be Albrelli and friends. Slurpy G trying to come in with the PK. And you can see the Seer ultimate is down, so they're going to have a lot of information. This is tough. You have to fight outside of that Seer ult, and that's exactly what they're thinking about. But the rotation's going to get tougher and tougher the longer that this thing ends up going down. I'm sure there's a team on the high ground over towards that tree side. They don't have a Valkyrie to go and rotate out of this. So I got to give hats off to this, Alb Slurp, Reptar type of team composition. They are putting themselves, in my opinion, at a disadvantage by not running these legends, but they are confident enough to make it work. The shots, that's why. You can see Reptar's not messing around.
Yeah, and Reptar is one of the few players that actually went from M&K to controller, and the level of skill, he was already one of the best in the world playing for Complexity on M&K. Guy went over to controller and just became a different animal. And you love to see it, especially for somebody who's such a great guy like Reptar. And he's trying to get back into comp, and I would love to see him back in comp. And we'll see what happens.
See how happens with Sentinels. See the zone's closing in, Wrecking Ball's coming out. That's going to be the speed boost they're looking for. That zone damage definitely going to be ticking in the backhand side. And this is going to be possibly Sentinels getting eliminated. You can see Albrelli's got the high ground. The ball isn't useful on that second level. It's just a matter of can they get Reptar back up. Nice job blocking the door using the knockdown shield as well. It's got to be reset time for Albrelli. You can see also no heat shields in competitive Apex. If this is your first time watching, or if you're new to competitive Apex, you expect potentially that to go down. It's going to have to be all natural healing out of here as the res coming in onto Reptar, and Sentinels getting dropped left and right. Multiple fights happening over towards the backhand side, though. The team in third place, and the shots from Luxford,
wow,
really impressive. Again, the tracking from this man has been unbelievable.
All right, E8 back on board with E8 squad that's currently sitting in first place due to their consistency in those first 2 matches, finding themselves in a little bit of an engagement here with Los Demonios. Cracks coming out onto the armor inside the building, not really committing to the push yet, but this fuse is putting in work right now. I mean, being stuck inside of there has got to be a little bit unfortunate for them, TJ.
It's a tough building to hold, especially when you have a fuse right outside your door knocking. It's like the big bad wolf. And sure enough, they go, they're showing us why Fuse is such a good legend to play. And Los Demonios picking up 3 KP here, also pushing Torrent back off into their spot. Now it's going to be a much easier rotate for these guys. Plus 3 KP on the board, you can't complain, with a heck of a lot of loot to go with that. And Tom, I mean, if you're playing in this zone, do you have any idea of what your preferred spot would be?
Really depends on where the zone pull is going to go, right? You have all these teams on the northern side anticipating it to pull down there. But I'm looking at where ESA is on that platform. And if it continues to pull over towards the southern side, they by far have the best spot. Just a matter of can they go and hold that one. Again, we talked about this with Optic. Getting there, one thing. Holding it, a completely different story. Fury locking down this door over here. And this is, something that you would expect from the team that won game number 1. They get into great positions. They hold great positions. That platform across is another priority spot. As you can see, Klain checking out the surrounding area. The knock from Reptar onto Rack and Nishu. But we still have 15 squads remaining. This thing's about to blow up as the round closes.
They're taking it to the next level here. Alb, Slurp, Rep. I mean, they managed to get, I think it was maybe 6 KP from those fights. Managed to make it out alive, but now they're being gate-kept by 2 squads here. And we're going to see what happens. I think, one team's going to fight one team and then maybe get thirded by another. So it's a tough position that they're at. And I know you mentioned earlier... Oh. Yep, tough spot, like I said. Big beams coming in from Reptart. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough. He's going down. And that's where Newcastle comes in really clutch, because you're able to move around, pick up the res, and CSX coming through with 3 KP plus that side of the zone. Furia going down here, not in the greatest spot either, and they're versing Team Liquid here. I think Team Liquid has another down that they could pull back up. Nope, he's actually downstairs and not going to be able to get to him.
Yeah, all those teams on the northern side are going to have to make their way a little bit farther down. I think Start a Fight might be in a really good spot, if I remember correctly, from that top down on the map. They might be in a really solid spot as far as safety goes, but Liquid loses 1. The remaining 2, we're going to see what they have to do. Furia here also fighting for this exact same positioning. I mean, we went down to 12 already, and this is just going to continue as everyone has to find a little bit of safety, and a lot of what they thought is not going to be within that zone. Furia, though, handling this predicament very, very well, able to find a little bit of an area to try and heal, but as I say that, Valk drops down onto Furia, and they are taking a lot of damage. Somehow none have gone down yet, though. They are surviving by the skin of their teeth right now, Tom.
Yeah, Panda's going to be the first one to get dropped. As you can see, Senpai's got the off angle, protectful. He needs to take a medkit or decide that he wants to get back into the fight, and it looked like the medi could have been the option, as Stunny with the 30-30 from the long range is just going to pop him for a shot or two, and he ends up going down. Not going to look good for Senpai. The thing is, can Furia end up resetting? You can see Watson's back up. He's getting knocks. Cody's going to answer that one back up. I think you have Zeratricky still on the map somewhere. And there he is.
There he is.
On horizon, trying to stay alive as long as possible over here. But in this type of situation, you know, getting banners, yeah, that's a thing. Getting a res, possibly. I mean, if you could pull off a res with this many teams in this small a zone, props to you. Will they have loot? That's another thing as well. So CSX looks like they are owning this side of Thermal. But the round 4 closing is huge. If you can get into round 4, you're looking at getting those extra placement points, getting inside of that top 10 area. Fury's going to get dropped as well. That was a bloodbath over towards that rotation.
Yeah, I think there was 4 squads in total actually fighting there. And it's just a tough spot to be in. But, you know, ESA trying to make the best of it. You know, they have one completely dead, one on the ground, and Clank's climbing up on 2 enemies right now. Scary position to be in. And that is all she wrote for ESA. Yeah, Glitter, I know you mentioned SAF in a really good spot, and they are, because they have a pretty free walk-in into zone here. I think the one issue would be maybe a little bit of cover, but if I was SAF, I'd be really happy with the spot that they have there.
Yeah, I think it's going to work out very much in their favor, because everyone else has had to move, and they've just kind of gotten to hold their position while all of this chaos is going on. Down to 6 squads as we're keeping our eyes on Team Nerf right now, seeing what they are able to pull out with this small amount of real estate. You can see those fences down below everywhere, kind of covering under them, and should be people below them as well that they will be able to push up on after they've got a little bit of this reset going. And it looks like that's the next potential plan for Team Nerf, is to clear out players below.
Keep in mind, Nerf's on that left-hand side of the leaderboard. I think they're sitting in 4th place, so them getting into 6th here is really strong. Meanwhile, Renegades has kind of had a slow game number 1 and 2. They land over towards Street, so the rotation isn't that bad for them. Crook is going to get the knock onto turns, though. Nerf being sent over towards the high ground. Ooh. Madness is not messing around. Captain of his team, but also leads the way into shots and just opening things up. One of the best entry fraggers we have in North America, showcasing why. And they're going to take control of this jungle gym. This is a brutal type of zone, though. Out in the open, you can see not much cover.
Not much cover and a heck of a lot of action. Torn over here trying to hold them out. Massive 2 arc stars coming in from RKN here, playing on the crypto. They got 1 down on Renegades right now with the zone on their back. This might be it for Renegades here. Wow, that was crazy. And we got a new kill leader in the game, Rambo, one of the best fraggers as well. And it's insane to see. A lot of these teams, they're playing the Horizon, Seer, Valk. A lot of these teams are also playing the Newcastle, Watson, and Valk. And you know, we're gonna see who's the best coming up here. SAF actually managed to get in the zone. They got a decently good spot. Going to have to be one of the first teams to move, but it's a top 3 spot. They have some KP on the board, and you love to see it here. Unfortunately, a man down, but if anybody can do it, it's my boy Roldies.
Torrent has been pushing their way into the zone very successfully. Rambo really making some memorable plays at Champs, Tom. Probably some of my favorite plays that we did get to watch.
Yeah, I believe it was the first game of the finals where he had his highlight on Valkyrie, and now he's ended up playing on this Watson. But it goes to show, you know, the talent that he has to be able to go and fill in for GMT since Torrent wasn't able to compete at that event. Goes in there and just not only puts on a great show in terms of his gameplay, but you just fell in love with the person. The guy's bringing the vibes. GMT was such a fun team to watch. And you know, Torrent does the same thing. This has been kind of the comeback story in game number 3. The teams that were really needing points are putting it together here and showcasing that they are not to be mistaken lightly when we move on over to Stormpoint.
Not at all. And you know, 3 big games for these teams on World's Edge. Matt Pickett taking a heck of a lot of damage. Storm right on their behinds. No cover for them to play. Unfortunately, Rollers is going down here. 2 stomps. And Torrent absolutely chilling in the best spot in zone. Everybody's got to come to them. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Keon here, another one of the best players. Absolute beams with the Volt. And it's anybody's game here.
Wow.
Whoa.
I did not expect that.
You saw the damage. You saw the damage coming in right there. It was free damage, but Rambo was the first person to get knocked, and the EMP came to teams that are really talented at fighting, and you know, Sentinels, Furia. Those are the teams that you mentioned earlier, TJ, that I'm expecting to really pop off here in the next 3 games.
Oh yeah, and I think one of the most exciting things about a new map means new contests, right? Nobody has a hard drop spot except for the pro teams, like Furia at Lightning Rod. Everybody knows that's their spot. They're not going to mess with it, but there's definitely going to have to be some 50-50s here, and I'm wondering who's going to be fighting right off the drop here. Glitter, what's a team that you've thought was going to be doing better or worse that's been kind of surprising you here?
There's a clueless bogey out there.
Ooh. Maybe not necessarily that I thought somebody would be doing better or worse, but I am... Okay, no, it is better or worse. I'm pleasantly surprised so far out of the blips of really strong performances that we've seen out of OXG. I think we saw them do this stuff in ALGS as well, where they had a lot of potential and then just couldn't necessarily get it there with the consistency. But I feel like we're seeing a little bit more of them, especially in that very first match of the day. Incredibly strong, and I'm hoping to see that if they can continue that now that we're on Stormpoint. I feel like Stormpoint does open up the door for so many teams to take advantage of it. I know you were saying that obviously the pros have a little bit of an edge because they've been playing on it now for a while, but I also feel like on the flip side of that, these free agents might be able to bring a little bit of chaos to this first match, because that's what happened in game 1 on World's Edge, and maybe we're getting a little bit of that right now.
AP taking out the last game winner here. You hate to see it. You know, it's really tough when you come off a win. You're expecting another big game, but Sentinels and White Armor going at it right now. They got trades. Senox and the Sentinels with the upper hand by 1 man right now. And can the third clutch it here? I'm not too sure, because they're you know, this is where Newcastle is just an absolute menace. You throw down the shield, you start pulling the res, and I know you've been a big fan of that, Tom. You know, what's your favorite thing about Newcastle here?
I think it's the bait opportunities that you get when you go for that res. Basically, that third player is allowed to get free shots because a lot of people really hone in on the Newcastle getting the res, and they look at it and they're not really used to playing it. But we all remember early days of Lifeline when she would throw down the res and, you know, have that shield up, etc. It's very similar vibes here with Newcastle, except he can kind of move around and it really distracts you. You wonder, do I go and chase this Newcastle and try to stop him from getting the res? And while you do that, the third player just absolutely beams you. So I look forward to having a Newcastle on my team for those type of opportunities where you can get back into the game and reset even faster. But I feel like it's a perfect pick for Sentinels. You mentioned Mad Maggie, pretty good and ranked in terms of tournaments. I don't really think that's the vibe. Newcastle's that new aggressive defensive legend. A lot of people think it's a passive legend, but it could be used very aggressively, and Sentinels loves to fight, so I'm really liking the composition that they have here on Stormpoint.
Yeah, I'm loving the change, and another change I'm loving, you see Optic now. They're losing the Caustic because of the wide-open landscape here that Stormpoint offers, and they're picking the Horizon, which gives you an insane advantage with verticality, right? A lot of height on certain spots on this map here. And they're also trying to, you know, maybe take a look at Sentinels. They now know that Sentinels is fighting off drop. Expect them to third party really, really quickly in game number 2 here, because I could absolutely see that happening.
Getting a little bit of insight here for where that zone is going to be. Our overall leaderboard leaders, E8, finding themselves in a very comfortable position for when all of that does start to pop off as everyone else is making those rotations. And we do have a lot of squads that are still playing pretty far out on the edge right now, though. Tom, and we'll have to see what they decide when they do make those pushes in. But Atlanta Premier still continuing to chase down more KP. They want to get some points on the board for themselves.
Enemy, a very underrated player too. And I think that's one of my favorite things about tournaments like this is you get a chance to, you know, see these players that you don't necessarily see on the main stage all the time. They don't get all of the hype in the world. You know, Aiden, for example, with his little pop-off moment going up against Sentinels. These are players that are very capable. In Atlanta Premier, a squad that's very capable too. Hill formerly on Torrent. This is a team that loves to get it on over towards the zone. You mentioned that E8 gets gifted the zone pulling on over towards them. Stormpoint tends to lean more towards the predictable side on where the zone is going to pull. It's that classic kind of Apex pull of hugging one side and one side only, compared to World's Edge where it can kind of pop off. And, you know, again, Valkyrie, even though the changes came through, with the zone changes, TJ, it almost makes more viability to her because you need to get into the zone a little bit faster because the damage is that much more.
Absolutely. So in Season 14, we saw a couple Valk nerfs. So when she goes up in her ult to, you know, fly away, she actually uses more gas per second, which, you know, makes a couple movement a little bit tougher. And also when she, you know, is flying away with her team, she goes up a heck of a lot slower. So you can't necessarily just pull a Valk ult out in the middle of, you know, a couple teams. You're going to get beamed and you're going to get destroyed. But I think her kit is one of the most invaluable in the game. And, you know, we see CLG here picking up a couple kills on Oxygen. I think one player from Oxygen managed to get out of there, trying to wrap for some KP. That would be massive. And Nano is chasing him down. He wants his KP. He is thirsty. Senpai, though, not making it easy for him. And can he get this kill? Oh, and he got it right out of the sky. Little skeet shooting there. Love to see it. Senpai absolutely putting it down and maybe hoping to clutch something. And I spoke a little bit too soon. CLG, Mamba, and Dimmy over here pulling up with the energy. They're running the Bangalore Bloodhound here. One of my favorite combos. And Glitter, what do you think about Bangalore? You think she's viable in you know, comp, or kind of iffy about her?
Listen, I love Bangalore because she was the first legend that I played when the game first came out, and I have a very soft spot in my heart for Bangalore. But I also think that in like a very classic BR sense, the utility that Smokes can provide, the EVA. Wow. The utility that Smokes can provide is really solid. And I think that now she's finding a little bit better footing on the competitive side of things, and I just love that that's even something we get to see on Stormpoint.
Absolutely agree. And what a flank by Messiah. Good friend of mine. He is one of the hardest grinders in all of Apex there. He's actually topped off at #1 Pred a couple times. Another example of ranked players just coming into comp, making a name for themselves, and taking off. I see VRA here creeping up on a team right behind them. And I don't know if these guys, these guys need a couple kills here to take it to the next level. But Tom, what do you think about the Valk Seer Horizon combo, which was made so famous by Furia at LAN?
I still think this is the strongest composition that you could be running, right? There's a handful of different things that you could be doing, but this offers everything that you would need to in terms of rotations with Valkyrie, getting high ground with Valkyrie, getting high ground with Horizon. You have two legends that could take over towards the high ground. And if you have a really strong Seer on your team, you put that together, and that is just absolute destruction. But that is why we're starting to see Newcastle Watson come into play. And unfortunately for Sentinels, they're dealing with Team Liquid right now, pushing on over towards their building. And Liquid does not look like they are giving up on this, taking some damage from another team across the map. But when you play that Newcastle Watson that Sentinels is doing, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fortify positions. You're locking it down. You don't anticipate a team to challenge you like Liquid did. They must have found some sort of area of weakness in that setup and then exploited it.
Yeah, and I think what it was, the team from Optic actually got a knock on Sentinels. So that was almost a free push for these guys. I think they have to play a little bit careful here because Optic, mouth-watering right on the edge there. They want this fight to happen because guess what? They're coming in for the third party. So Liquid realizes that. They pull back. They got a really strong spot in zone here. And they got a lot of weapons to be able to farm these armors. And not to mention a Loba to be able to pick up extra ammo, extra heals, which comes very clutch in certain moments when, especially when you're rotating quickly.
This is all feeling very Champs reminiscent with the Liquid and the Loba and that outer edge of the zone positioning, kind of giving themselves a little bit of cover and holding onto a spot very, very comfortably. So we'll have to see how successfully that does go for them. But we've talked about them a lot. The Alb Slurp rep team right now pushing up, seeing they can nail down some of this KP on the squad below them. Bats being popped here as Reptar makes a push over to the other side and gets a clean knock onto Rolders. This is going to be huge for this trio because they have been not doing poorly, just I feel like they've been caught in some really unlucky situations so far, and it's looking like Stormpoint might be playing a little bit more in their favor.
Absolutely 100 headshot, TJ, with the Skull Piercer. I got so excited when I saw that because I'm a wingman fiend. As Alb Slurp and Rep get eliminated, that's unfortunate because I feel like they had that fight on lock, and now Fury is going to end up pushing on to start a fight. But the wingman and the sniper changes, TJ, what do you think? I think it's a little bit of a buff and a little bit of nerf combined.
Yeah, so I actually prefer and really tip my hat off to the team at Respawn for doing what they did with the wingman. I think the wingman was the strongest and best weapon in the game for I don't know how long. If you got the aim and you're able to hit the shots, it's just such a game changer. Fortunately now, the wingman is sniper ammo. So that means you can't necessarily shoot as many shots and just spam bullets like you used to be able to when the wingman was heavy ammo. So I think it's a good nerf, but that thing is still absolutely disgusting. One headshot and, you've done enough damage to be able to push a squad, and most likely if you're hitting your shots, you're going to be winning that. Team Liquid here's...
Yeah. Team Liquid specializes in this, and I wanted to kind of go back to what you were talking about with Hodsick, is when we look at Stormpoint, Team Liquid is one of the best teams at picking a spot in zone. When you have this checklist of where to go, watch and learn from what Team Liquid does on Stormpoint because they are just so darn good at rotating.
I think they're phenomenal, and I think the fact that Team Liquid picked up Hodsick, who is one of the smartest minds in all of Apex, was a no-brainer, no pun intended, for Team Liquid here. I think the teams that have been doing really, really well, C9, Team Liquid, you know, they have a coach, they have an analyst, they have somebody to crank down the numbers and rotations and small things that the team might not necessarily see because they're so in the moment trying to get these kills and trying to rotate. I would love to see Furia. I actually do believe Furia does have a coach as well. Big shots from Stunny, and that is a Kraber right there. Love the Kraber nerf a little bit as well. Would have loved to see it just in competitive, not necessarily in ranked. But I think it's heading in the right direction. And Glitter, fan of the Kraber or not? What do you think?
I am always a fan of the Kraber. Are we asking him a fan of the nerf?
No, you know, a little bit of the nerf, a little bit of a fan of the Kraber. You know, just trying to see where your mind's at.
I love it. I want to see some 360 Kraber shots. Go for flare at this point, okay? Get some style shots because why not? This is such a good map for sniper opportunities too, and I know that there's still a couple squads that are running Vantage with these more open areas, especially depending on where we're finding some of these end zones, and I think it could be super clutch.
I fully agree. I would love to see a little more patience from a couple of these teams, but E8 is bringing. They got a knock on. I'm not sure who they're fighting right now, but like T said earlier, that Seer ult is just so incredibly powerful, and you can see it right there. I mean, T, do you think Seer's in a good place right now? Do you think she's a little too OP?
I think Seer needs a little bit of a nerf. Things that I would change, I think that the heartbeat is a little bit too far. It needs to be watered down just a little bit, probably about half the range. I think the ultimate comes back a little bit too fast. You know, Seer is an amazing legend. The lore around Seer is great. I think there are going to be some minor nerfs that come to play just because you look at other scan legends and they're just not as strong. You know this because you play Bloodhound a ton. You know, Crypto is very difficult to play in certain situations, but Seer's ultimate comes back much faster than every other legend. So like when you take a fight just initially, Seer's gonna have his ult up extremely fast. So if I was to make any changes, those are the ones that I would. But I'm at a point now where I am enjoying playing Seer a ton. The legend is just an absolute blast to play. You're able to gather so much information, and it's not surprising that you kind of tie that in with that IGL on your team playing on Seer, and that's why I feel like Fury has been able to do so well. You gather it, you make the calls, you call out where everybody is, and then you start to push, and now we're starting to see the Rampage from Mercy in play for the first time today. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with that.
Yeah, well, like you said, Rampage, and it got the knock on Impulse, I believe. I'm not too sure who exactly they knocked. And then we have a big fight here coming down with Sentinels and Team Liquid. Sentinels is a two-man, managed to get the first knock, but it is not enough. I mean, a 2v3, even, you know, being two of the best players in the world, it's a tough fight. And, I mean, Glitter, what do you think? What do you think Sentinels have to start doing a little bit differently here to take it to the next level?
I mean, it's a different map now, right? So now they're kind of... This first game is always going to be a little bit weird. Teams have to figure out how this is going to work. And I think we saw this happen in the first game with Sentinels. They had a rough first game. They figured it out, and they did a little bit better in the next one. So that's probably what we'll see coming out of them. Now they have a better idea of what to expect, but Liquid was able to recover very nicely from that. But now Furia, with this Kraber in hand, was trying to see his Watson wants to make any shots on these players as they are crossing, but doesn't want to waste the ammo, okay? Because there's not a whole lot left at his disposal. Allows, I think that was Liquid, to push out across and find themselves in a little bit better positioning as they kind of reassess the teams that are around them as the zone continues to shrink down. 7 squads left, and this is a very, very small circle that will be coming in next, and teams are going to have to start making some decisions on how they want to handle this. E8 forced into a little bit of an aggressive spot here. They're going to need to keep people off of them as they do already have one of their players down here, Tom. And this is, it's going to be a little bit rough.
risky res, but they're able to pull it off. You saw the Seer ultimate end up going down. What knocked him was a defensive bombardment from Optic, but you're in a situation where you can't charge that team because look what's happening behind you. You have Team Liquid on the flank, you have ESA, and this is 3 winners from previous matches here. I mean, we got, I don't believe, maybe EA didn't win a match. I know that these are just 3 teams that have done really well today, right? EA, ESA, and Optic in their respective areas right now, playing extremely consistent. And then TJ's pick on Furia on how they are going to improve is definitely a solid option as well. But this is a very exciting final circle. You still got Team Liquid in there. So everything that you kind of anticipated and lead it into, TJ, coming into play here in game number 4.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know Team Liquid is 3 of the best players in the world, like I said earlier. Hotsick, arguably the greatest coach you could possibly have on your team, along with PvP from C9, who unfortunately aren't playing today. But, you know, I'm pretty sure he was in their ear saying, hey, you got to do this, we got to do that. One thing I do want to point out, the Kraber skin on his Watson's Kraber. I think I need to drop him a couple subs or a dono or 2 because he needs to buy some Apex coins and get a new Kraber skin. That thing is horrendous.
Not a fan?
No, I'm pretty sure that might be the default skin on the Kraber, and I'm going to have a stern talk with him about that.
The Jen Burton approach. I mean, he rocks the default Bloodhound skin when he goes and plays, and, you know, people just can't take you seriously, and, you know, that's what you want, is them to underestimate you because you do things like this. Push in, push out a building, later to Torrent, they go out. Meanwhile, E8 is fighting over towards the side. CSX is going to go out. Fun's going to get involved in that and take over the kill lead. But this is what Furia does so well, Glitter. They push inside of buildings, they take you out, and they go and take your spot. I'm excited to see if they can walk away with this one and just completely scare the rest of the players in the lobby.
And they're always so decisive when they do it. There's never any trepidation. They're, you know, not second guessing if that's the play they want to make. Once they've committed to it, they will not back off. It's worked out very, very well for them because I think it throws some of these squads off. But Liquid now making their move up. As you can see, ESA also in and on this building, and Liquid trying to find a little bit of safety here for themselves. In these final moments, top 4. And Liquid looking very cozy. These guys will have to back off and use a bat here. Make sure they get the shields back up, as Furia also is doing the same. And it's honestly, it's going to come down to which team is forced into the engagement first. We see this happen all the time because it's going to open up so many third-party opportunities, and you don't want to be the one that has to trigger that. You want to be the squad that's able to come in right in the final moments and clean everything up nice and easy. And so this is just going to be a massive waiting game, TJ, to see which team has to commit first.
Yeah, and, you know, Furia's sitting in the best spot. All these teams have to fight one another. You see Panders with 12 bats right now, so that guy has enough heals for the entire lobby. And it's just going to be a waiting game to see, you know, who's going to have to fight who. And sure enough, you know, Furia's just sitting comfortably above all these teams, seeing all this madness go down. And they're just going to come in, clean up, and if I was a betting man, I would be putting my money on Furia to be winning this game.
My gosh, the confidence from Panders to Chase right there is phenomenal. The duo does distract them a little bit. The reset comes in, but the high ground is absolutely key. And now they've given up that high ground to take the kills down. But Furia wants it all, y'all. They are trying to clean up every single last team in this lobby. The patience onto the Newcastle. Liquid gets eliminated, and now you have one more player alive, and wow. Furia does it. The tracking, the confidence, the high ground, TJ. I know you're a huge fan of that. What do you think of how they were able to execute, taking down every single team?
I think I'm watching a replay of ALGS LAN in North Carolina. So I would love to see a lot of these teams step it up. Even 12th place. They're only a few points away from placing top 5, which, by the way, guys, is winning money tonight. So a lot more action to happen in these 2 games. We're going to see another 50-50 on Shipfall here. between AP and I believe Kodagami's team. Can't really see here. And it is Kodagami's team with Stomps and JQ here. And I do believe there's another 50-50 at Barometer. And Reeds with the 30-30 getting the first knock on Bowser here. You love to see an early knock. Purple armor on him as well. Can't really go wrong with that. You know, Tom, purple armor off the drop. How happy are you getting?
I'm just happy we got a Patriots reference in here. And next thing I know, you're going to compare his Watson to Tom Brady.
You know, as of right now, he is looking pretty Tom Brady-ish. You know, he's got it, man. He's got the swag. You know, the pro gamers in other countries are dating models like Giselle. His Watson's coming up. He's already been breaking molds. It's happening. Yeah, and it's actually funny because when I was at LAN, I had some guy come up to me and he said that his girlfriend loves his Watson and he's jealous. So, you know, I could see that happening. But Tom Brady, Watson, could definitely see that. I could also see Hal, you know, being a little Tom Brady-ish. You know, some of the Optic players as well, looking pretty Tom Brady-ish, you know?
Well, we're not going to go into too much detail of what you said off broadcast because I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but that's an inside joke between all of us. And going back on board with Rack Attack, Bowser is on that Vantage, and you know, Vantage, I want to go into how Bowser's playing it and also Albrily because I'm excited to see what these pro players are going to be able to do once they get something new in their hands. And that kind of goes to Newcastle as well. It still hasn't been mastered. You know, there's no 100% reliability on what you know what's going to happen as soon as you throw that Newcastle ult down. Vantage is still being worked at in terms of being able to, you know, do some movement. But I look at Bowser and I look at Albrily and the type of players that they are, and they've always been really exciting with their movement. So I feel like they're going to be able to teach, you know, newer players so much about this particular legend and the kit. And again, with 22 legends, people playing whatever they want, I think we're in such an exciting meta. The big question, Lauren, is if we're playing all three of us right now, if we searched up rank, who are you picking?
Ooh. Well, wouldn't it be totally dependent on who you guys pick?
Nope, you're our IGL. We're going what you pick first.
You're on the spot.
We can scan this
Ooh.
area.
Honestly, then, well, if I'm the IGL, but that also, okay, this is unfair. I'm going to be Bloodhound.
Oh,
it's a good pick. It's a good pick. You actually stole my character from me, so we might have a little bit of beef here, but I could forgive. Ladies first, you know.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's all forgiven. All forgiven.
So you're on Gibby then.
I might be back on Gibby, or you know, if we're really trying to play dirty here, we could go double scan meta. I'll play a little bit of Sarah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm on Valkyrie then. Let's go. we're on the comeback trail over here. I don't think we'll do as good as say like Team Liquid, but you know, we got some good chemistry going. Sykes is someone, TJ, I haven't had an opportunity to watch him play that much, but the dude just killed me in ranked so many different times. Do you have any intel on the type of player that Sykes is?
No, absolutely. I mean, Sykes is a grinder. He's always been a ranked grinder, and I love to see him getting an opportunity to, you know, make a name for himself with a real competitive team here. He is an absolute animal with the controller, and I think that's something that Team Liquid was looking for. Fun and Knock both being on M&K. I think that is an amazing balance to have, you know, whether you have one or two controllers or just one controller. I think it makes a heck of a lot of difference, especially as an entry fragger. But he's a great guy. I met him at LAN, and again, like I said, just love to see him getting an opportunity here. I think he could add a lot of value to Team Liquid. I know it's going to be tough to replace Gildersons, who is just an absolutely phenomenal player. But I think Sykes is doing a great job at doing that, and I'm excited to see the future of Team Liquid here.
As well, I'm really excited to see what they do. And again, you mentioned Hotsick before. only a couple of coaches that are, basically players that could fill in at any time, which makes Apex really exciting. Great wingman shots there from Rolders. I'm excited to see what these Watsons are able to do. I mean, Rolders is a fragger in its own right, but he gets caught with fun and the charge rifle across the map. That's what you get worried about sometimes when you go and take these fights and start a fight gets punished across the map. They were not ready for Team Liquid waiting in the wings, and Renegades gets a little bit lucky because of that there, Glitter.
This is going to be big for Liquid. Kind of a performance that we were looking for out of them, especially when we've seen them have success on this map in the past, but Renegades are going to have a little bit of a... This is why I love this map so much. They did have the cover. The health is what really kind of scared me a little bit, but able to get a nice reset here for Renegades. And this will be massive that no one pushed up and kind of took that opportunity. They didn't have to deal with a third party or anything. And this is GG Renegades.
Can we talk about 19 squads left?
Yeah.
Still? Round 1 closing. I mean, it's been fast-paced and slow-paced all at the same time. Players are dropping left and right, but really no full squads. And Sentinels looking like they could be the second squad out here, which is just so unfortunate for them, TJ. I mean, you look at their screens, they're playing really well, but it just is a testament to how strong this lobby necessarily is, and now it's a 2v1 situation in E8's favor.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of that is Sentinels haven't been playing the game as much, right? And that's one thing I would love to see them do a little bit more of, just to work on a little bit of team chemistry, working on team fighting, and also getting used to the new meta, right? If you look at Onmu, my roommate, he said this, and he plays for 100 Thieves, one of the greatest teams in all of Apex, right? And he said, if you look at the top 5s from all the major tournaments, 99% of the time, it's always the teams that are always on, that are always playing ranked, and I think that's such a huge, crucial part to becoming a better player and, becoming a better team at the end of it. Start a fight here. They're coming right back. They're trying to get some loot, and Cruisin' still on the white armor. Very unfortunate. I know he's an absolute controller fragger here, so I know he's going to be farming that pretty quickly. But, so... Glitter, quick question. You're playing a game of comp. You could get one weapon off drop. Any weapon whatsoever, except the care package weapon. What are you going for? What's your loadout?
I am a 301 stand for life.
Ooh.
For always. Forever. Yes. Please.
All reliable. All reliable.
and a flatline. Give me flatline or 301, and I will be happy and not even remotely concerned about winning my ones, okay?
I love it. I love it. And what about you, T? You could get one weapon to start the game off. Any weapon except the care package weapon. What are you going with?
Wingman, 1000%.
Ooh.
It has to be the Wingman. And I know you're a 301 fan as well, too. So, double 301s and a Wingman, I feel like, got a pretty solid chance.
That is the recipe. I've been a 301 fan ever since my PS3 days. PS4 days.
Whoa, we're just throwing it back.
I always get them confused, but no. Playing on console, PS4, would always rock the 301. And back in the day, it actually used to be like so much better, believe it or not. It's still all reliable, old faithful, but... the mag size got dropped by a couple bullets, but it still is the most consistent weapon. And now you see, speaking of consistency, look at these shots from Zera Tricky here with the G7. Now they're absolutely are going to push on this. Expect his dropping the ult just like that. If these guys don't absolutely full send that team, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm watching Furia.
Well, this is what they've been doing really well, though, that Glitter was talking about, is, you can be as aggressive as you want, but you have to hone it back just in case there's a third party, and Stunny's going to resend it on over towards them. So, TJ, maybe it was the best thing to go and push this fight, and they are both basically now getting griefed by Fun and his charge rifle over towards the side, too. So everyone going to look over towards this side of the map now. and try to get their pickings and get their kill points. But very unorthodox, way to go about that fight is to back off after you get that much amount of damage. But I really feel like they knew there was a third party in the area.
That's something they definitely have to keep an eye out for. But ironically, it was Furia on Furia violence there, with Stunny being a content creator for Furia, one of the greatest players in the world as well, knocking his Watson, which I was surprised about after all that damage, and Fun just being an absolute menace with the charge rifle. Now, Glitter, true or not, are you a charge rifle enthusiast?
It depends on the day, okay? If I'm feeling trolly, then I am absolutely a charge rifle enthusiast. If I'm trying to play seriously, then it makes me just angry.
Yep, and I could see that. I might be judging you just a tad.
That's fine. I kind of set myself up for that, so it's okay.
Yep.
Hey, at least she didn't say charge rifle off the rip, because then we would have known she's the biggest griefer of all time.
Oh, man. But that might not be a bad thing to have on our team. Maybe farm up our armors. We'll take that.
See?
We'll take that.
That's something that Rambo rocks a lot, is he'll end up doing like charge rifle, R9, and then you get to a point where you've gotten all of your Evo shields charged up, and then you've got the circle to close down. You just swap it out for something else, say like the R3 or even a PK. Holy Mamba!
Wow. That's the controller difference right there. Actually,
and also through the smoke, you don't get that aim assist, so that's just really great tracking in general from Mamba.
You know what? I'm gonna have to correct myself. That was not aim assist at all. That was pure M&K decimation. Forgive me for my mistakes.
Wow.
But he absolutely put it down. CLG, another team that I think has a lot to prove. And my roommate getting dropped, but doing a lot of damage. Can his teammates clean it up? That's a knock from Lux. And now I know Lux is definitely a controller player. A couple missed shots with the Eva. And that's Alberlele and Slurp absolutely clutching it up. Third party on the way, and they are not going to get away, unfortunately.
How many death boxes are in here? That's the real question. Are we about to set a record for most death boxes in one building? I hope we see every single team run into here.
You did some great math earlier, Tom. I would love to see you count these death boxes right now.
Is that a lifeline? What?
I think we need to find out who's rocking lifeline here, and that is Team White Armor with the lifeline.
They have no heals and white armor, so they decided lifeline. That makes sense, because then you get the care package and you can get your armors. Then you don't have white armors anymore.
Not a bad take, not a bad idea at all. Hot pick though. Hot pick. I feel like there's a lot of other legends that could offer a lot more than lifeline. But maybe they went with lifeline because they knew they were going to 50-50 somebody off the drop, and maybe they're low on heals. That could be it, Tom.
If I see lifeline, I'm sending it. That's all I gotta say. I'm like, all right, this team, they have no idea what they're doing. Lifeline hasn't been picked since 10 seasons ago. Listen, I love Lifeline, one of my favorite legends of all time. I can't wait for her to get a little bit stronger, just a tad.
I would love to see that. I would also love to see Bangalore getting a buff here and there.
Yes.
Right? There we go.
Yes.
Tell us how you really feel, Lauren. What would you add, though? Would you give her like a third smoke? Make her ult a little bit stronger? I mean, her kit's already pretty good. Her movement speed boost used to be higher too, so that's something that you could potentially do. But oh my, sweats are getting dropped by the Storm and everybody on the outside. Fun's been going ridiculously ham with this charge rifle, and if there is a vote for most valuable griefer in this lobby, it's definitely Fun.
I was gonna say, why has nobody appreciated the irony of Fun being the one with the charge rifle?
He's having fun. He's the only one having fun.
He's the only one.
I mean, it is insane the amount of damage and ability to farm your armor with the charge rifle. I think the charge rifle is definitely an M&K special. I don't think controller on Charge Rifle is as good as an M&K because you sort of can just track the enemy movement a little bit better, right? Because we don't have aim assist on that range. And fun just goes to show you, M&K, Charge Rifle, chef's kiss. You know?
You start losing the tracking with the 4 to 8 when you play on a controller, but still viable whatever your input necessarily is going to be. Just really depends on what scope you're going to be using. And in terms of sniper scopes, I don't know. The 4.8, the 6. Personally, I'm a 2.4 fan, TJ. I'm curious to see what your favorite scope would be in that type of situation. But there's a big fight happening on with CLG right now, and can they put this together as just a duo? We're seeing ridiculous shots from everybody on board right now. Every single team we're switching over to, we haven't really seen any missed shots, TJ.
Yeah, and I mean, Mamba is absolutely putting it down as a crypto here. Over 1,200 damage. And just putting in work. I think he might be able to clutch this as well. And now we're getting back to Optic here. Optic, Duplex is down. Storm is coming. Noct is getting knocked. Skittlecake's last alive. And can he make it out?
Oh,
got the kills.
Wow.
And there's that Storm difference. It's just a little too much to handle, especially in Zone 4. But Mamba clutching it up for CLG, putting on a show. You love to see it. Would love a little bit more awareness from him, knowing that there's an enemy right there on his left. He could have got that extra kill point there.
Oh, that's a rock.
He made it.
Information, Tom. Thank you.
Wow.
Well,
Mathematician and a geologist, Tom.
exactly, and a movie buff. If you didn't notice, just not a historian, that's for sure. Nerf's been silently going through this lobby very well in terms of laying low key, getting into their placement points. They're looking good. I think they're in 4th place overall. They were that team that's a little bit separated from the top 3 teams, but this game here, Lauren's going to break them and bring them right back in.
We see it. We've been seeing it happen pretty frequently. Rack Attack also looking very, very good for themselves right now in that top 3 spot. Another team that could use some additional points here. We'll have to see how this plays out. As you can see, everyone trying to decide what they want to do here for these final moments. That zone's about to get real tiny. They've got 30 more seconds before everything starts to collapse, and Nerf is almost done with their reset and fully recovered. They know where to expect the squads coming in from, so that they've got those sight lines nailed down. Getting any of those last minute loot items that they might need here, whether that's some additional ammo or a little bit more bats if they have them, waiting to go for this so they can get that information and get up and over where they need to be for Rack Attack. But they are going to time this out as perfectly as possible, hopefully be able to kind of land in on these two as they start the engagement. Nerf does put down their Newcastle wall, and they'll probably start having to take shots across the way as Rack Attack has begun their Valk rotate.
And one thing that I love about Team Nerf here, and I think it's an incredibly smart play by them, is the fact that they went all the way to the back of the zone to make sure that this Valk team did not land on them. I think that's just a veteran play from several veteran players. And now, you know, Rack Attack is in the middle of a pinch, and they're in the worst spot right now. ESA here claiming a lot of territory here and just having their way with this zone. But Nerf does have Newcastle with that extra wall, which could be extremely, extremely clutch. And on the other hand, you have Klain with the EMP that could automatically knock down, you know, 50 shield off their armor with just one ult. And that's on all 6 enemy players. So it's going to be a spicy end zone here. If, you know, Rack Attack manages to get a second place here, I will be surprised. But I could be anybody's game here.
The EMP is a great point, and that's where the skill and talent level and the awareness of your crypto really needs to come into play, because you have to, one, find a safe spot to get into your drone. to decide if it's worth the EMP. And right now with the amount of fences in the way, and it's similar to throwing a Bangalore ult or a Gibby ult. You don't want to really slow your teammates when they already have an advantage. So at this point, you have to decide when is the best time to pull the trigger on that EMP. And that's why a lot of players won't go with cryptos, because that's a whole nother layer of learning that they need to kind of implement, and it's not easy to do. So much respect to Clayn in this ESA squad, but you can see who's in a pickle right now. It's definitely the rack attack, and you have all three of them just basically sandwiched in between both of these teams. In a situation like this, Lauren, it's kind of like, which team is going to get the kills, but also which team is going to have to deal with them charging at them.
It's going to be real rough. ESA is looking pretty comfortable right now. I mean, they know they can kind of watch for that push that you're talking about out of rack attack, and they can still potentially get some side angles and give them some damage while they make that push up. And rack attack does finally decide to go for it. They are going to be full sending it. Will they be able to clean at least any of the KP up before they go down? We'll have to see how this ends up working out for rack attack, but ESA is going to be able to stay on the outskirts and kind of poke down from the outside. And you can see Fury up there in the kill feed starting to do just that. ESA is looking like they've got this one in the bag, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, that is it. That is it. And I think it's unfortunate for Team Nerf that they were the team that was closer to Rack Attack. And that's the only decision that Rack Attack had to make there. There was no other option for these guys.
Coming back strong is super important too. So while you take that break, understanding like, hey, is this, something that I really want to pursue? And if I'm going to pursue it, go after it, right? And, what better time to play than when the new season does come out? I'm not going to, harp too much on, I do think game time is really important, but hey, if you don't want to put in the time, maybe sometimes you need something like this to happen where you play in a tournament and you say, hey, we got to catch up, man. We got to put in that work. We got to get right after it. And there's a reason why they got to this point, is they definitely have the passion. Sometimes breaks are needed, whether that's not playing any game at all or playing other games, whatever that may be. But if you don't capitalize right in the beginning of a season, you're almost double. You're not just shooting yourself in one foot, you're shooting yourself in both feet, basically. And it's the time to go and grind and put in that work is right when that opportunity comes.
I agree, and you know what? You're absolutely right about taking breaks. I've taken a couple breaks from streaming because I just don't feel like doing it, and I come back with a newfound passion and love for it. So completely see where you're coming from, and you're right, Tom. You're absolutely right. But at the end of the day, speaking of being a movie lover, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Unbroken.
I'm going to add that to my list.
All right, really good movie based on a true story about Louis something. He was a World War II soldier who ended up getting captured by the Japanese. And a quote in the movie goes, "A moment of pain for a lifetime of glory." Right? And I absolutely love that. I'm a big fan of it. So it's, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want it? You got to embrace the suck, like they say in the Marines, and you got to keep going. You got to keep going.
I love it. I fully agree. I almost teared up right there, man.
Motivational.
I'll give you a shoulder to cry on.
I'm about to start up my game right now, dude. Let's go.
He's gonna cast and play at the same time, and that is the ultimate multitasking. Okay.
No, I think that is definitely the multitask, but I don't think my teammates would like that very much. That's for sure. Not like they liked me anyway, but surprisingly, again, another slow start to this game. Not many 50-50s going through, but let's see what Bowser is going to be able to do. You have two legends again that can get on over towards the height over here. And it looks like they are definitely posturing to try to fight this team. Hello, take it on over towards the high ground. The scout with the 1 to 2x. Not the ideal scope, but you can see how powerful Valkyrie is in these high ground situations.
Absolutely. And I just found out about that spot during the last rank split, which ironically, Team Liquid got up on that and absolutely rained hell down on me from that spot right there.
Is that how you learned about it?
That is how I learned about it, unfortunately, and they made me pay for it. Bowser with a huge drop on reads. I think it might be a 2v2 or a 2v1 now. So they got to clean this up, get ready for the third party, and continue looting, go get a spot in zone. But, Glitter, what are you thinking? It's a 2v2 here. Can they? Who's going to clutch it? Who's going to win?
I'm leaning towards Rack Attack. I'm not gonna lie. Only because, well, only because I'm right. Only because it was gonna happen. I saw the future.
Caster curse.
I didn't want to, let everybody in on my superpower, but that's what was gonna happen. VRA's forces.
Oh!
That was the ultimate caster curse. I quit. I'm done for the day.
Are you kidding me?
The Destroyer. Wow.
The destroyer of hopes, dreams, Rakanishus, attacks, lobbies. Get them out of here. They're going to ranked. Aiden the Destroyer goes on.
Wow. I mean, and, that was disgusting. I think that's the second time during this tournament he 1v3'd a team, and not just any team, 6 of the best players in the world. And at the end of the day, obviously it is a team effort, but to clutch it up 1v2 at the end, my guy, hats
insane.
Off to you. Oh,
Aiden's insane.
Insane. And speaking of insane, we're looking at Zero Tricky here. And I mean, the guy is just absolutely built different. Glitter, when you watched ALGS LAN, I know you were casting there. What did you think of Furia's performance?
I loved it, and I think at the beginning it was almost kind of like, not necessarily mean, but people were like, oh, they won't do this past groups. They won't, they won't do this past a certain point because it's too scrim-like. It's too ranked game style-y. It was just, people didn't think they'd bring it all the way through to finals, right? And they absolutely did. And I am so, oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. White armor does go down to Furia in the middle of this rant about how much I enjoy Furia's playstyle, but I have been waiting for Apex Legends meta to shift in that more aggressive direction because at its core, I think that's what BR is. And so the fact that now we're not instantly rotating center zone, finding a building and camping in it, it makes me so happy. And the fact that Furia proved that it was viable on the biggest stage in the scene, I mean, I could not ask for anything better, and I just want it to continue moving in this direction. I think it is, especially we've talked about so many times how many legends are viable now. Tom, this is literally all I want. I will just go on a rant for this for hours. This is all I want for the game.
And a puppy, but you have the puppy, so
yeah,
I think you're pretty good. Shout out to Kylo, free Kylo. But going back to a point that you brought up as we take a look at CLG, hey, dropping Aiden is the first start to winning this team fight that they need to, and the wingman shots are looking really good too. Unfortunately, it looks like they are getting third-partied from Origami Sweats. Glitter, I think you brought up a really great point, and I want to piggyback off that really quick about how you thought maybe they couldn't get it done in groups. A lot of teams, or a lot of people that are watching may say, hey, because they don't understand a lot of these teams from the other regions, and they may think that they're weak. But we saw very quickly during groups and after groups that every team, all 40 teams that were there, deserved to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And these were the best teams in the world. So to think that they couldn't get it done after groups is definitely the wrong thought process, because we saw teams, some of the best teams in the world, Optic, TSM, Liquid at times, having to fight through and not have the performances that we were anticipating, all of us were anticipating. But I feel like that's more of lack of regional knowledge than anything. And I feel like a lot of the teams and a lot of the people and viewers are starting to respect these other regions, especially because you have teams dominating like Jen Burton and his squad from Dark Zero with back-to-back wins. So Apex is definitely a global game, and we're seeing that, and North America definitely is a contender to be able to win one of these global championships. Heck, Furia got second place, but it's there. The talent's there worldwide.
I love it. Could not agree anymore. And that's why this game is so much fun to be able to watch, to talk about, to play. Both of you with your firsthand experience of that. I mean, and the fact that I feel like every season the talent pool gets bigger and bigger, TJ. There's so much in store for the game in general.
And I think that's, you know, like, shout out to Respawn for just, one, making this game, right? Greatest game of all time, in my opinion. Comparable to MW2. But the way they have taken care of Apex, you know, they don't always make, you know, the changes that we all want. But at the end of the day, guess what? We're still addicted to this game, and it's so fun. And especially with all these new metas opening up, all these... Panders with a disgusting flatline beam here. That is scary. But all these new metas, all these new weapon metas, it makes the game feel new. It makes the game still fun, even after 3 and almost a half years, right? So I think, Tom, have you been a day one player of Apex?
I have. I got pred up until Season 5. I stopped playing in Season 5, and I'll be honest, I'm going to bring it up on stream. The cheater problem back then was so bad that I couldn't even stand to play. Almost every game it felt like there was a cheater at high-level pred lobbies. But I've had such a refreshing experience now. I haven't dealt with any, very rarely... Maybe not even once a day will I run into someone that's hacking. Mm-hmm. And they've hired people, they've hired an entire team consistently to go out there and look and ban people, especially when you have evidence. So that was the one thing keeping me from playing, because back when the game started to really get popular, all of these people kind of ran in with their hacks and things like that. Not a problem anymore, not an issue. The game's extremely refreshing. The changes that they're making is extremely refreshing. I'm excited about everything Respawn's doing.
I agree. I would love to see EA still invest a little bit more money into an anti-cheat, just like you said. But I'm still addicted. I've played through all those cheater seasons. I've played through the DDoS seasons, and I just can't help it. It's just such an amazing game. They've done such a great job. But I do agree with you. Cheaters were an absolute issue. And the worst part is, it's an issue in every single game as well. I have a lot of friends that are Warzone players that complain about cheaters. Battlefield, Fortnite. So I would love to see what the future is for anti-cheats. And, how can I be an early investor in that? Because we're going to need that in the future.
No doubt.
Yep. And Glitter, what do you think is the number one thing that Apex is sort of missing?
Got one of them.
Nothing.
I love it. I love that answer. I know Respawn and EA
because
does
there's
too.
more content coming, and just because we don't know what it is doesn't mean that it won't be awesome. I mean, and I think we see that reflected a lot every time there's a new legend. We somehow, even if it's not right away, might think the legend's not viable. Next thing you know, the next season they're playing in comp, right? So I think that it's kind of everyone evolving with the game and adapting to changes and kind of working with it and becoming the best at whatever that season is, whatever that meta is. And we have seen so many of these teams really battling it out here while we've kind of been droning on about all of this stuff. Atlanta Premier now on some really solid high ground and just shredding enemy. Okay. Dang.
Speaking of cheating, enemy, let's get his inputs looked at over here.
That was insane.
Check his PC.
All right, Apex anime. Hear me out. That's what we're missing. We need an Apex anime.
Okay, take it back. Yeah, I want a show. I want a TV show.
Yep, there we go.
All right, I'm going to have to disagree with you guys on that. I'm not a huge anime guy, and I get crap for it all the time. I just can't.
But you like your steak well done, bro. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore.
Oh, then your opinion doesn't matter anymore.
I'm offended in all the well-done steak enthusiasts all over the world. I think we're all standing together, and
Hey, eat your food the way you like it, okay?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not food shaming you, but someone needs to cook you a good steak, my guy.
Yeah, I actually have a viewer who's a Michelin star chef in the UK, and he said when I'm in the UK, he's going to cook me a steak that's rare or medium rare, I don't even know. And he said I'm going to have to eat it.
Oh, dude, you'll love it. You'll be like, I completely changed my mind. and I will never eat a well done steak in my life. But you know, that it's okay. You know,
we'll cross that bridge once we get.
We'll cross that
know?
bridge. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Glitter, how do you eat your steak here?
The right way, and that's all that matters. Okay, that is all that matters. Because we have been missing so many good things happening. I'm trying to keep track of it so I can even report on all of it, and I already forget half.
Yeah, well,
so now it's your roommate that we're looking at.
Let me start you off, Senox, with a massive Sentinel shot here. Lux queuing up with the Horizon queue, but there's a third party coming on the way here with Alberlele and Reptar and Slurp. I would love to see these guys do a little bit more. I don't think the Vantage has necessarily been working the way they've been sort of hoping, but we got one more game, a lot more Apex to play, and maybe this is the game where we're going to see that that Vantage ult being used and absolutely ranking decimation. Tom, I know you're a huge fan of Vantage.
I think...
Why?
I think that the sniper is so valuable, but... I think it's more of a ranked legend than, you know, a legend that's going to be viable in a certain situation like this, because you have Loba as well. I feel like with Vantage, if you don't have a Seer on your team, you're at a disadvantage, okay? Let's put it that way. So
I like it.
I just feel like Seer is just so powerful, and you've seen teams like Furia really install this type of strategy, and they're doing it right now. They love to get aggressive, and there's so many different reasons why you get aggressive, right? One, you want the KP, but you see how they got aggressive? They backed off, they sensed if any other teams were in the area, and then they kind of tackle it that way. They're like, all right, did I lose HP from getting charge rifled? No. Can I advance on this? Yes. Whenever they start taking major hits, they don't want to take any flesh damage, so then they go bait and switch, hit a battery. His Watson hits a battery. Now this is the problem. Panders ends up taking flesh meds here, and that doubles the amount of time that he needs to heal, so his team has to fully send it here, and that's exactly what they do. So this fight has to be taken cleanly, and now that one player gets knocked, this is not what Furia was looking for.
Yep, 2 down for Furia, but his Watson going absolutely nutty with the flatline right there. His aim is just absolutely disgusting. They're going for a res here, which is a great call. Oh, that might have been a Kraber. That might have been the Vantage sniper. I can't tell right now, but that was a big hit and actually stops the res on him.
Looks like quite a few squads are in the middle of taking some big hits. See Torrent trying to get a little bit of a reset here. Rambo very, very low. Trying to see if he can maybe save his squad and himself, get some heals off in the process, but unfortunately, oh my, frag grenade. Oh, that was unfortunate for Torrent. Start a fight now, the ones that end up pushing up on Furia. Watson gonna try and hold on to this one for as long as possible. What? Apparently his Watson's just better.
Nasty knockdown shield play there, but they also reset and were able to get Panders up, so that was technically a 2v1. Panders decided that he wanted to heal. If he wanted to finish that fight off in that 2v1, he definitely could have, but that was a surprising area not to get third-partied, and I guarantee both these teams are scratching their heads on how the heck the team that won that is alive right now. But that's huge for Furia. Furia has been playing phenomenal on Stormpoint. They're literally one shot away from getting eliminated right there, and that would have opened the door for other teams like ESA, Nerf, and the rest of the lobby to go and take their spot. Team Liquid's been looking good. Fun has probably been the most improved player from World's Edge on over towards Stormpoint. You've seen him picking up a ton of kills in that kill feed. Renegades gets eliminated. A lot of teams going out now too. Optic goes out. Los Dominios is out. Stunny potentially down. CSX is out. That was 4 teams in a matter of, what, 10 seconds? That's insane.
That kill feed lit up like a Christmas tree. December 25th. All right, that is insane. Furia's still alive. They could still potentially win this tournament, get a all-expense-paid trip to San Diego, and a $20,000 PC. A lot on the line, not including the $13,000 prize pool tonight. And let's see if they can maybe do that right now. It's not looking too good for these guys. Team Liquid and Fun cleaning it up. Like you said, most improved player in Stormpoint. And he goes and proves a point right there.
I love that. That was huge for Liquid, being able to take out one of The most aggro remaining teams now top 3, and they'll have some loot to show for it as well, be able to get themselves nice and comfy and reset before they have to push on this. Meanwhile, Slurp rep squad has been trying to deal some poke damage on inside the building for quite some time now. Seeing if they can maybe get any sort of advantage here to work in their favor. Reptar taking a little bit of frag grenade damage though. Has to back off and heal. And they also need to keep their eyes out on any of those off angles that the final third squad could potentially push through them, because they are unsure as to where Liquid is right now, Tom, and they do not want to get third partied.
I love this so much for this team. You know, a lot of things haven't gone their way today, but they're just showing you the competitors that they are. They're not giving up. They're continuing to improve on any type of mistakes that they made and applying things on the fly. That's what makes these pro players just so darn good. Team Liquid, they are looking so strong though. Triple red armors, that's the only disadvantage right now in terms of what they have to deal with ASR over here. But I like the wall, it's perfectly positioned. The big question is where is the third and final team? It's going to be Sentinels. They're located on the inside. So Sentinels putting together their best game, TJ, of the entire tournament.
Ooh, look at that ammo though. Sorry. Did you see that?
70,
No.
I think, total, maybe less.
Yeah, they only had 52 spare. That's going to be real rough.
We need to get that Loba.
Yeah, hey, maybe Reptar can walk in there, drop him an ult, and walk right out, you know? But love to see this from Sentinels. Would have loved to see a little bit more of that, you know, throughout the tournament, but I'm glad towards the end they're picking it up, carrying this energy into the next tournament that they play, hopefully. But it's going to be a shootout, and, you know, Team Liquid here looking like they're in the best spot here. It's going to be a tough push for Sentinels here, and especially Alberlely's team there. They're not going to have much cover whatsoever. They're going to have to play the outside of the building there, I believe. And one thing I would have loved to see in this tournament is Alberlely actually playing Newcastle. He is one of the most
Agreed.
disgusting Newcastles I've ever seen in my life. So I feel like that's almost a throw on their end. But hey, you know, we're here to have some fun. And I love the fact that they're spicing it up with the Vantage pick. Team Liquid with the Loba as well. And they absolutely have so much ammo and so much utility with grenades and everything that they need to be able to win this game. They're absolutely going to nade the heck out of this team on the inside unless they have a Watson gen. So, you know, Glitter, what are you thinking? 3 squads left. Who's taking it?
You know, I already cursed the team once this game. I don't want to do it again. I mean, Liquid looks so comfy. They've got a Kraber, and they have played so... Oh, nice. Throwables coming out of Liquid as well. Those nades are going to be putting in some work as Sentinels is forced to finally kind of come out from the safety of this building. I like Liquid, but I don't want to jinx anyone.
And I respect it. And I love how Sentinels are holding out on their walls, but this might be a little too much for them to handle. Like I said, they were absolutely going to get naded out of their wazoo there unless they had that Watson gen. And unfortunately, I don't think they had it, or they might have been saving it for this final zone moving up. It's not looking too good for Sentinels right now. Alb, Slurp, and Rep moving in, closing in. Liquid in a tight corner here. And I thought they had the best spot until Alberlely actually rotated.
Yeah.
And threw that wall down.
Closing it out.
ASR, man, that was a big game. You also saw like the lack of experience that Senex has on Newcastle.